you've got to keep developing and making sure that you're still relevant. I just think that shift in mindset from teacher to business owner is a gradual one. Believe in yourself and really take advantage of all the people out there that can and will help you. Through years of teaching, I've been asked every single day, what's the point in this?
This is the Education Business Podcast for all founders and business owners in the education sector. This podcast is for you if you have an education business or you're thinking about starting one. That could be tutoring, publishing, holiday clubs. It really doesn't matter. You're in business and you're also in education. But most of all, you're focused on improving outcomes for children in the way you know best, through your business. I'm Claire Riley, co-founder of educational resources website Classroom Secrets, and I'll be sharing how to make your education business bigger, better, and have more impact through my own experiences and also the conversations I have with other founders and business owners in education. The Education Business Podcast is sponsored by Classroom Secrets, helping you to support your children's learning. Darren, welcome to the Education Business Podcast. Tell us your story of how you got into education business. What happened when you first got a career? How did that career pan out? And what led you to starting an education business?
Hi Claire, thanks for having me. So before setting up my education business, I had an amazing 17-year teaching career working in special schools, mainstream secondary and in international schools, all the way from teacher assistant up to deputy head. And it all started when a 6-week coaching placement at a local sports club close to my university fell through last minute and I went to a special school. That 6-week placement turned into a job as a TA, which turned into me covering for the maths teacher who was on maternity leave, which turned into me becoming a qualified maths teacher. After 6 years, I moved on from there to a mainstream secondary, another special school, and then finally an international school in Spain, where I finished up as deputy head. I always loved teaching and being in the classroom, but like a lot of teachers at the moment, I just needed a change. And I was really lucky in that I could go and work with my brother in recruitment. So something completely different altogether. And it allowed me to work from home and be a lot more flexible with my time. So 18 months ago, I left the school I was at and started something completely brand new, but I was still doing a bit of maths tutoring on the side as well. It's been in this last 18 months where I've really had the time to reflect on my teaching career and education as a whole. And I kept going back to the fact that in so many ways, teaching has just really not changed. And by that, I mean, students were still being asked to use Pythagoras to measure the height of a kite, to calculate probability using a spinner, or to count cars in a car park for their data handling. For 17 years, I was being asked the same things every single day. Why do I need to know this? When am I ever going to need this? And the students are right. Maths just isn't relevant to them. So that's why I started Headline Maths, where I use a current news story to create maths resources each week, so students can see the real world relevance of the maths that they're learning, how people in different jobs are actually using maths day to day, and to make them a bit more aware of the world around them. Now, it's still early days, but I've got a group of schools that I'm working with and sending the packs out to each week, and they're giving me some really positive and helpful feedback on the resources. The goal now is to continue to grow that group of schools and hopefully get as many students as we can to use Headline Maths and make them see the relevance in the maths that they're learning.
Darren, I just want to give you an acknowledgement for being so brave. I said when I restarted the Education Business Podcast that I wanted to interview founders across the whole board. So not just founders who had already built a team, who had been in business for 10 years. I wanted to interview from across the board because there were plenty of teachers who said, well, what about the beginnings? What about people who have just started out? So I want to acknowledge you for sharing your story so early on, because lots of founders wouldn't be comfortable to do that. I certainly wouldn't have been. I would have been too scared at that stage in my business. So great credit to you. So thank you on behalf of all the listeners, but particularly those people who are still in teaching who want to get into business. How has that been? If you could describe it for somebody who is thinking about making that leap, because, you know, I interview a lot of founders. Some people have left in the last couple of years. Lots of us left a long time ago. It can be hard to remember the details. How has it felt since you started your business? What are the big things that you're struggling to deal with, and how are you managing to get through those things?
Thanks. Yeah, by no means am I the most experienced education business owner, but if there's someone out there listening that has got an idea or they're thinking about doing something similar and hearing about my short story helps me in some way, then that can only be a good thing. I think it's important to help each other out. In this short space of time, I've been really lucky to have the help of a lot of great people. I've had ex-colleagues that I've been able to bounce ideas off. The schools I'm working with are giving me some really great feedback on resources. And I know you had Katie Harrison from Picture News on the podcast recently. She lives nearby with her husband, Rob. And I sat down with them a while ago and they gave me some really great advice and some great tips on how to get up and running in the early days. So yeah, I think it's important that we do share ideas and support each other where we can, because we're used to being in school surrounded by hundreds, sometimes thousands of students and colleagues that we can talk to and ask for help. And in my case, I've gone from that to working at home by myself. So I've not got that immediate support network. So I have had to try and build my own little community through my social media and with the schools I'm working with and other people in a similar position as well. So yeah, it is a big leap of faith to take. And as much as I'm enjoying it, it is not without its challenges, you're right. Like I say, going from having that immediate support network around you day to day to working by myself is a challenge. And, as teachers, many of us go into the job seeing it as a lifelong vocation, and we spend so long developing ourselves and our careers. To make the decision to step away from that, it's a huge one, and it can be really daunting, especially if you're taking away the stability of the job to then go and be self-employed. It can be nerve-wracking at times and stressful. And yeah, I always have those moments of self-doubt and questioning whether I've done the right thing and whether this is going to work. So I always try and refocus back to what my initial aims are. And I've got targets set for the next few years. And I really try and just refocus back on those in order to sort of quieten those doubting voices. Another thing, you go from being a teacher where your whole year is essentially scheduled for you in terms of what lessons you teach and who to each day, to then going to working by yourself and having to give yourself that structure, be disciplined in order to get everything done that you need to. So I make sure every night before I go to bed, I fill out my diary with all the things I need to get done the following day. And that helps me stay on track and helps me stay disciplined.
That's really good advice, very practical. I'm all about the practical. I love a to-do list as well. I use Motion as well. People who listen to this podcast consistently will know that I love Motion. It tells me what to do, but I still write a to-do list, choosing what I want to do from what Motion has suggested that I should do, because I like to be in control. But yeah, a to-do list is really important to know what those priorities are as well. The transition from teacher to business can be really difficult, especially when you have an education business, because you can go in with a mindset that you had as a teacher into education business. And while it's helpful that you understand teachers really well, there are downsides because sometimes you don't have necessarily the right mindset to grow the business. So what's one belief that you had as a teacher about education business that's turned out to be completely wrong now that you're a founder?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a completely different world, really. And although I'm still in the education sector, there's still a lot of things that I'm learning every single day. I think in terms of the biggest misconception I had from when I was a teacher, I think I always thought that people trying to sell products and resources and things into schools were purely salespeople trying to make some money and didn't care about teachers at all. But certainly from my point of view and all the people that I speak to on a regular basis, because they're largely from teaching background or education background, they still do have the best intentions for the students at heart. They're genuinely trying to create resources that help teachers and help students. It's not just about making money. They really do have the best intentions.
It's a big one, isn't it? And I think we all go through it. I certainly went through it. And not necessarily that I was that conscious of that feeling of education businesses, but it kind of came up when I started to think about how I felt about trying to sell my product because I didn't want to be associated with how I felt about other education businesses. And I had to go through this journey of personal development really to rewrite that. It's a very difficult thing. And sometimes we see it as well in the team. They have that mindset, and that's unhelpful because we obviously want to sell as an education business so that we can pay them. And so it's an area that we have to do quite a bit of work on with everybody, really. So I think it's important to recognize it and to call it out and name it and have that self-awareness and be able to move on from it. So you said you've been working with some schools. What's been the kind of feedback that you've had from schools so far, and how has that helped you shape your product at Headline Maths?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the adjustments we have to make in that transition from teacher to business owner, I think. In terms of feedback, yeah, like I said, I've been really lucky that I've had some former colleagues, my partner, who she's a primary teacher, she helps, and the schools I'm working with have given some great feedback. Some really positive things about how much students have enjoyed using the resources and it's kept them engaged, how it's helped teachers with saving a bit of time and planning. But I think more importantly is the things that I need to work on and develop, and that's making it a bit more accessible to all students. With a resource like this, we know teachers are so busy. They don't get a minute to adjust things. They've got a scheme of work they've got to fly through. So fitting an extra resource in can be difficult. So they help me find the space where it fits, and whether that means it becomes more of a general numeracy type resource rather than specific topics it covers, or covering a group of topics at one time. These are conversations that we're having sort of ongoing each week, and they're really helping with shaping how it's going to look. It's never going to be the finished perfect articles. It's always going to be developing and hopefully meeting the needs of students and teachers as we go. So all the feedback I'm getting, it's really fantastic to hear, and it's really helpful in shaping the products that I'm putting together.
Do you teach children as part of your business offering? Have you considered using resources from Classroom Secrets? At Classroom Secrets, we're always adding new resources for a range of subjects, and we're keen to hear your suggestions for resources too. We know that you didn't go into business to work more hours than you did in the classroom. You went into business to give you freedom. Let us help with that. Visit classroomsecrets.co.uk to sign up. How have you felt about getting that feedback? I mean, when I started Classroom Secrets, I think I was 28, so I was very young, and at first I was scared of getting the feedback. I was scared that they wouldn't like it. And then I kind of got over that, and then I was sad that it wasn't what they wanted it to be, and I did make changes. And then I was surprised that it was something completely different to what I thought they wanted. And over time, I found different things that they liked. So, how has that journey been on a personal level?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It can be scary, nerve-wracking to get feedback and to hear people's thoughts on something that is so personal and precious to me. Something that I put a lot of hard work into. But it's so important that I get that feedback because I need to know whether it works for the teachers and whether it works for the students. If it doesn't work, then there's no business there. So although it can be scary to get the feedback and the judgment on something I've worked hard on, it can strangely be quite exciting when somebody engages with you and is lending their expertise and giving you their honest opinion, because that's what's going to help the business grow and help me develop the best resource that I can. And I think once I stop seeking that feedback, once I stop trying to develop and improve the resource, then that's when it's going to start to fall apart, because especially in education with things moving so quickly, you've got to keep up. You've got to keep developing and making sure that you're still relevant and people still want to use the resource. So yeah, I think as scary as it can be, it's such a vital tool to get the feedback from teachers and students. And I'm learning to embrace that and seek it out as much as I possibly can.
You're right, you should never stop finding out because, as you say, your business does really depend on that. So, in the next 12 months, what are your plans to grow Headline Maths?
Well, still really early on in the journey. So the next few months is certainly all about continuing to get that feedback from teachers and students and making sure we are developing the resource and getting it the best we can get it. Beyond that, I think the summer holidays will be a great time to take stock of where things are at and how we move forward. But the goal is to have a nice network of both primary and secondary schools that are buying into the resource, because at the end of the day, it is a business and it's there to make money as well as help teachers out and students. And then beyond that, I really believe that the idea of making the curriculum relevant to real life and linking it to news, I really think it's really important, and it's so transferable. There's no reason why it can't work for English, science, geography, French, Spanish. So I think for the next 12 months, it's about getting headline maths right, making sure it's the best it can possibly be. And then who knows, it can potentially be the blueprint for other subjects as well.
At what point did you start to feel like a business owner rather than just a teacher with a side project? And what was it that changed to make you feel that?
I'm not sure I feel it yet, to be honest. Having been a teacher for so long and, like so many, put so much time and effort into my career, I'll probably still feel that way for some time to come, particularly with headline maths still being in the education sector. I still feel like I'm part of that world. And that's not something I'm ashamed of at all. I've always been really proud of being a teacher and what I've been able to achieve in my career. And that's not to say that headline maths is a side hustle for a bit of pocket money. It's something I truly believe in, and I see real growth potential in it. I just think that shift in mindset from teacher to business owner is a gradual one. And my teaching experience is what's got me to where I am today with the business, and I think is a real strength of the business as well, in that I can still relate to teachers. So it's not something I'm desperate to shake off at all.
I think that can change over time as well. I think you probably will identify more as a teacher now. And as you grow, you'll have to make some more shifts, because if you don't make more shifts towards business owner and away from teacher, and not totally away from teacher, I'm not suggesting that, but you will need to, otherwise it will cause other problems. And obviously, I always speak from experience as well. When you think about children using headline maths, what do you hope is different for them compared to how maths felt when you were teaching it?
You're right, and that's part of the journey I'm on at the moment, I guess. In terms of headline maths and what I want to see students getting out of it, primarily, I want to make the maths meaningful to them. I want them to be able to relate to it. Through years of teaching, I've been asked every single day, what's the point in this? When am I ever going to use this again? And I get it. I sympathise with them. For so long, they've been asking exam questions about the probability of landing on sections of a fair spinner, or to collect data by counting cars in a car park. And it's just not relevant or engaging. We're not using things that we could. There's so many things out there that are using maths every single day. Why are we not looking at the goals scored in a World Cup match? Why are we not calculating revenue from ticket sales for a Taylor Swift concert? Maths is everywhere, and I want students to see that link, that it is all around them and there is a point to what they're learning. And there are so many jobs that are using maths every single day. It's not just study maths and be a maths teacher. You're not told in school that there are people working with the weather agencies to predict poor weather events using probabilities and the data they've collected. You're not told that football teams have data analysts who are collecting all the information on the players. We're not told about commercial managers that are setting ticket prices, or that retail stores are predicting sales when there's a ban on caffeine drinks for young people. There are jobs everywhere that involve maths. And not only do I want students to aspire to those kind of jobs, but to realise that what they're learning is meaningful and is relevant to so much in the world. And the second part of it is engagement. And not only, obviously, engagement in the lesson, being more relevant is hopefully going to drive that engagement. I want students to know what's going on in the world around them beyond what's on their TikTok or their Instagram feed on the mobile. It's important that they know and understand what's going on, and and they can develop opinions on these things. So using real life news stories to build lessons around, or parts of lessons around, I think it's an extra way of getting that information to the students and keeping them engaged in the world around them.
Darren, I just wanted to say a massive thank you for giving your time to talk to me today and sharing your insights, which I think is particularly helpful, especially if you're just starting out in business. It's really helpful to hear from somebody who, is early on in that journey. In your mind, what have we not talked about that we should have talked about that's useful for education business owners to know?
Thanks for having me. It's been great. If there's just one person out there listening that this helps out, then brilliant. And more than that, it's been really helping me as well. It's allowed me to really think about my goals, my plans, and how things are going, and reflect and sort of clarify some of those objectives. So yeah, it's been really helped me, and like I say, hopefully for somebody else as well. I know we touched on it earlier about the sort of self-doubts and the nerves about starting something new being a big jump. But I can't stress enough, you've got to just go for it and believe in yourself, and really take advantage of all the people out there that can and will help you. There's so many people that are in a similar situation. And from my experience, there've been so many that have been really willing to help and give their time and their expertise. And there's nothing more valuable than that, speak to people that have been there, done it, and made a success of it. So that's definitely something I'm going to continue to do, bending the ears of people who are further down the line in their journey and learning as much as I can from them.
It's been a really fun chat, Darren. Thank you. And I wish you so much success with Headline Maths and the future. Thank you for listening to the Education Business Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Classroom Secrets. To find more resources to grow your business, visit classroomsecrets.co.uk.